Welcome Strategy Battle Gamers to another GBHL YouTube channel video. You're here with your channel host GBHL James, and we're bringing you another week's edition of Speak Friend and Question with a special guest. We've got Mr. Dave Nolan here, everybody. Woo! Let's give Dave a big massive thank you for keeping me company today. Now that does of course mean that me and Jamie couldn't meet up on the Thursday to film this. So Dave, you very kindly come and met me.
Thank you for having me.
And true to form, I was very, very late. All you got to do is ask Jamie. It's like, okay, if you arrange to meet James at 1 o'clock, what time will he be there?
2?
Half 1, 2 o'clock. Okay. Just a busy guy. I'm very, very, very sorry.
I'm very patient.
You were very patient. I appreciate that. And it's a gorgeous day outside, so I'm sure you didn't mind standing up a bit.
Fantastic.
Now, of course, with Dave being it, that obviously means that Steve has been sacked. He's been sacked. No, his kiddie's not too well today, I believe.
I'm not aware of that, but yeah, we all have kiddie problems. You may one day soon.
Let's leave it a little bit of time. Want to enjoy being married first. Did you know that I'm getting married in, what, 77 days or something ridiculous?
Would that be close to 11 weeks then?
Close to 11 weeks. Close to 11 weeks, so June the 6th. What are you doing on June the 6th?
Working out in the hills in a hammock with a load of kids, more than likely.
Sounds like good fun. Just in case you're not sure what Dave is referring to here, you do like outdoor pursuits, don't you?
I do indeed, and residentials for schools, etc.
Fantastic. Now, we've had loads and loads and loads of questions. In fact, I've just seen how many comments. 50 comments! Let's give the Strategy Battle Games a little round of applause. Brilliant. So well done. So we will crack on because there's a reason why I'm wearing this. It's not because I think I look cool in a hat. I really, really don't. In fact,
everyone here loses their hair, apparently.
Well, I honestly don't think I look cool in a hat. In fact, I don't think I could say publicly what I think I look like in a hat. However, the alternative is this. So
that looks semi-decent in comparison.
Are you kidding me? Have you seen the state of this? I refused to Jane to shave until I get my hair cut, and she hates it. I've had loads of people. Here you go. Here's a bit of.
Yeah, that's too close now. Back down.
Look at that for a bit of Viking beard. I'm a little bit gutted because unfortunately the lighting in here is making me look a little bit on the red side, a little bit on the Irish side. I'm not. I'm blonde. All right. But Jane thinks I look like a proper tramp with a beard.
No comment.
Wurzel Gummidge comes to mind. Right, so the hat's going back on, and let's crack on with the questions. So, as true to form, whenever we've had a guest presenter of Speak Friend and Question, we allow our guest to read the first one.
Oh, fantastic!
So you've got the mighty but minute Ian Marley.
Hello, Ian. How are we doing? Right. So your question is for Steve. Unfortunately, Steve isn't here, but I'll pass the question on to him. We could move on quickly, but let's be nice. Steve, how many wood elves did you kill? I would imagine this is going back to the bat report you did with Steve.
Well, we were very lucky enough. Remember, the Hobbit, some of you might be watching this and don't feel like you're on the outside of a clique or something. One of the great things about the Hobbit community is that we've made lots of friends, you know, lots and lots of friends.
Indeed.
That's the best thing about it. And in Manchester, we were lucky enough to host Ian Marley and Sean Hunt, who are members of our Strategy Battle Gaming community, and they came down from Hartlepool to show the Mancunian crowd how to have a bit of a drink and show us some Strategy Battle Gaming. So I did manage to film a battle report, which will be coming out next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that. We've got loads of battle reports filmed. And unfortunately, a lot of the Manchester guys had to bail, but Steve did manage to get a game in with Ian, and he got smashed.
Ian? Or Steve?
Steve got absolutely trounced with his filthy list. And you'll know what I mean you'll know what I mean when you watch the battle report coming this Wednesday from Games Workshop Altrincham. So a little bit of internal banter there between them, so I think we'll move on. So next up we got Tom Turtle, and he put, I scoured the DCHL the other week. Seems like a great channel. Have you seen the DCHL channel?
I haven't, yeah, I've been so busy looking at this.
Is it DCHL Devon? I think that's your name, pal. He's running a very nice little channel, and it's nice to hear that he's been inspired by what we've been doing here, and that's what we want to see. Loads of people sort of really trying to inspire people with the Hobbit hobby. I definitely recommend you go and watch his Smaug versus Laketown on the Laketown board battle report. I expect that video to be, in the next few months, go easily over 8,000 views.
Excellent.
I would say. It's not got many at the moment, but I definitely recommend you do that. So they were our scouring. Tom tells us, I've been rewatching the Middle-earth's Deadliest Warband series lately and was wondering what would come next, Middle-earth's Deadliest Monster or Middle-earth's Deadliest Hero? Even better. Did you watch Middle-earth's Deadliest Warband?
I haven't, not yet. Don't look at me like that.
Get out. Get out. Drink your coffee and go.
I'm so busy sitting outside people's houses waiting for them to arrive.
That's why Jamie doesn't get anything done. He doesn't get anything done because he spends his whole time travelling to come and meet me and then waiting around for me to turn up. Middle-earth's Deadliest Warbands was great, and yes, we did want to do Middle-earth's Deadliest Monster. Of course, the issue is we don't have all the monsters, so, and it's the kind of content that we would want to try and speak to everybody, possibly in the local area, and borrow it all and film the whole series in one day. And the idea behind that was that we'd get the monster, and you'd have the equivalent amount of points of like Warriors of Minas Tirith, or maybe Warriors of Rohan. Me and Jamie have got lots of them, and it's sort of how long it takes for the monster to kill, you know, however many points. You know,
I would be very, very interested in that.
Yeah, it could be good.
I've got a few monsters I might be able to supply you.
Fantastic news.
Like all the 9.
I'm not sure we'll count. Oh yeah, you've got to do an unnamed wraith on a ring wraith on a fell beast. That'd be good. So anyway, a second 4-way series of battle companies. Yeah, that's something that we've thought about. So look forward to that, guys. Also, I'm confused at how the Dwimmerlake's rule work. If Floyd chooses to employ his ability to nullify the sap fortitude. And then he's put, Steve, what a legend. Someone give that man a prize. He's a good guy, Steve. He was so nervous about being in Speak, Friend and Question. I know he comes, he's all front. He's a sensitive soul, really.
I'm only a stand-in for Steve. Yeah.
I have to say there were a few comments about like the sound and stuff. We were in Games Workshop Altrincham, and I had to be really careful in the editing to try and make sure that, because if you equalise it and you reduce the background noise, the audio can sound incredibly tinny. And so, yeah, some of you might have missed certain bits, but it's instead of us basically sounding like we're coming to you from Apollo 13. So it was a better way to go. If Floyd chooses to employ his ability to nullify Sap Fortitude, then and he's successful, then Sap Fortitude won't work. Do you mean if Floyd is in range of the Dwimmerlake? Well, if Floyd is in range of the Dwimmerlake, Floyd, I believe, does he use a will point to try and...
Do you know, I have no idea about Floyd. I know about the Dwimmerlake.
I think what happens, I think it goes in this order. So Floyd would have to, if he's in range of the Dwimmerlake, if he can just see the Dwimmerlake and he's outside of the Dwimmerlake's 12-inch bubble, I think that it doesn't matter. He can just do it, and he can make him lose his Sap Fortitude, and then you don't have to roll when you use might and stuff to see if you double, if you're successful, and if if he doesn't resist it and all that kind of stuff. Can you resist that? I think you can. It's like a spell. Is that a special rule?
Again, we'd have to look.
We'd have to look at the rules.
Sorry,
but in terms of if he was in range, the Floyd trying it would come first, but then you would have to roll to see if the Dwimmerlake's Sap Fortitude worked or not, to see if you have to spend double. If it did work, then it would take double, or the Floyd would have to choose it, and then Floyd's ability would come into effect, and then after that Sap Fortitude wouldn't be in effect for the rest of that turn. So it would go in that order. And so I hope that helps. You put, as always, keep up the good work. Oh, and whoever edited the last instalment of the Lord of the Rings campaign is a god. I believe Jamie edited those. Would be great for some more fun like that in future bat reps. So I'm glad you're enjoying the campaign. Have you been watching any of the campaign?
I have indeed.
Yeah, you enjoying that?
I always enjoy the bits and pieces, especially since they can be quite informative. For instance, this Floyd part that you just mentioned, that's quite informative to me. I don't want to play dwarves now.
I've only learned the game through people asking questions on here, blagging it, and then going away and looking it up myself. It's the only reason. And even then I get things wrong. Do forgive me when I'm in a battle report and I get things wrong. I'm not blatantly cheating. It's because I'm focusing on the shot. I'm focusing on trying to get the shot and thinking about that side of it. So, so people who come and play me, it is down to you to be really hot on the rules, and especially if it's your own army. Okay, so next up we got Joe White.
Hello Joe, how are we doing? He says, hi guys, my question this week is, which army do you think is the most powerful in Middle-earth, and why? Mine is the Mirkwood Elves, as they're extremely organised and fight like a single unit. Personally, I don't play that much good forces. I'm more of an Isengard / Mordor player. In tournament scene, I've seen Mordor do extremely well. I've seen Isengard do very well. I have seen and played against Mirkwood. They are quite powerful, but like any army out there are balances. You can find ways around it. What about you? James?
He's very good, isn't he? He's playing, he's doing the whole host thing. You're out hosting me. Do one.
That's twice I've been kicked out.
Yeah, get away. Steve didn't do this.
Give me a coffee.
Steve sat there and was rubbish. It was great. I mean, I could just talk all the time. So, in terms of the most powerful armies, so I'm going to talk about like an army here. I agree that the old Mirkwood elves are, because they are underpointed and, well, they're very well pointed, they're incredibly cheap for what you get. And so whilst they are soft, and whilst it does take a degree of caution to play with an army like that, I mean, certainly don't try and go up in a battle line against it, but it's a very powerful, you know, they've got good mid-level range heroes, which is a good consideration, which means that they can afford to bring the troops. They've got good shooting, and when they get in combat they've got that fight 5. Wood Elf Spear is brilliant. With that in mind as well, I have to say that I think that the new Mirkwood Elves have a similar kind of sort of power thumbs up, as it were. They've got good, reasonably cheap troops, nice mixture of elites if you want to, and they've got a good mixture of heroes, from your mid-level to really kind of powerful heroes. So I would certainly go along that Mirkwood Elves kind of route. But as you mentioned, Isengard is a pretty good army. The Haradrim list is a massively powerful, cheesy army for people. So there are a lot of really good armies out there. Thanks very much, Joe. Sorry, that was Sackbot 10. Thanks very much, Sackbot 10. So next up we've got Joe White. Ah, so I said Joe White before and you read Sackbot 10. Okay, so we've got Joe White's question here.
Old.
See, it's not that good.
Hello, Joe. Sorry, Sapworth.
So you got hi guys, my question this week is, which models do you think had the biggest impact if they were given to both sides instead of just the one they are on? I would say Alfred and High Elf Warriors. Okay, well I'm guessing why you're saying High Elf Warriors is because of the high fight value for evil. But there are ways of getting fight 5 with evil, you know, Corsair Reavers, Castellans of Umbar and stuff like that. Alfred giving might to evil characters could be pretty good.
That would be very, very nasty. A similar thing for me would be the Dwimmerlake and Saruman taking Grima. That would be, Grima and the Dwimmerlake would be horrible.
Yeah, in good armies. So if you had like an all-hero army, those would work quite well in a good, because the good heroes on the whole, I would say, tend to be sort of stronger in terms of the whole, because evil's got lots of monsters and things like that. I know that you've got the Bolg and Azog are now a bit more prominent, but they're expensive. If you went for an all-hero build, it would tend to be a good all-hero, so you can get something in there, like you say, like if you could have Saruman and Grima in there, that would be...
Another thing I find with the good armies and your evil armies is that there's a lot more options monster-wise in your evil armies. If there could be a transference over, we'll say some trolls or something like even the Fell Beasts over. I now know we have Radagast on an eagle, we have the eagles, we have Treebeard in the end, but it kind of stops there. You can't get those cheap trolls in, you can't get those cheap hurling and brutal power attacks, etc. I think that would be more of an individual model, more a kind of a whole section. Monsters over into the good side would be extremely interesting. Yeah,
it would be interesting. I agree with that. Thank you very much for your question, buddy. Okay, so next up we have Tom Turtle. If you'd like to read this one out.
Just trying to make sure it's the right question.
It's the bottom one. I'm going to scroll it so it's always the bottom one.
Excellent. Okay. Sorry for the extra question, but James, this is back to James. What are your experiences in Abersock? He's just mentioning, I'm the guy who noticed your Abersock top in the picture from the league final last year on the Facebook group, and I live there apparently.
Oh, fantastic. You've been to Abersock?
I have indeed. On one occasion, it's lovely. Unfortunately, mine was on a campsite.
There's some nice campsites around there. We didn't go on a campsite. The reason why I've been to Abersock quite a bit, I went not long after I'd been in the army. When I'd left the army, when I come back from Iraq, I went with some friends and we literally just camped out, got like barbecue stuff and went surfing. And I'd never been surfing, and it was always one of those things, because I wasn't like one of the skater kids in school. I could never do skating. I couldn't even do the fingerboards, you know. I couldn't even do them, let alone getting on a skateboard. And I used to see these. I mean, I had a BMX, but I would never go over a ramp, and I certainly couldn't bunny hop or wheelie or any of those kind of things. Couldn't at all. That just wasn't my natural aptitude. And I always thought that something like surfing would be way out of my league, and as such I'd never done it. But we went surfing in Abersoch, and within a few hours, like a couple of hours, I was catching waves. You were there on your belly, you know, you can stand up, although you do get to that point you're thinking, I don't want to ruin the riding of this wave, because you're there on your belly and you're going like 30, 40, 50 mile an hour, depending, you know, on the tide and everything. And, you know, getting a bit of height as well, because Abersoch's, you know, Hell's Mouth and stuff's really good for waves at certain times of year. And I really enjoyed it, and I said, I'm going to get into surfing, and I haven't gone and done it since. However, the reason why we've gone to Abersoch a bit is one of my clients, she's got like a chalet there.
Oh, fantastic.
And because I run my own business, and Jane runs her own business, it means that we've not been able to really go on lots of holidays and things. So we'll tend to do so. Well, what we would do is my day off would be like Sunday, Monday, or a Monday. It used to just be Monday. So on a Sunday night, I'd finish work, I'd get Jane, and we would drive to Abersoch. We'd drive there in the evening, we'd watch the sunset along the way, because it's a gorgeous drive. It feels far enough away from where we live for it to feel like an adventure on a holiday, but you can drive there. And when you're there, we just chilled out. So we would go there, we would go down to the beach, we'd have some food. And, you know, there's not loads to do, you know, but it's just a nice outdoorsy kind of place to go.
It is. I've spent a bit of time on the coast of Wales, doing a bit of climbing, Traumatic, and up and down the areas, been to Pembrokeshire, etc. But unlike James, I did have a skateboard and a similar BMX bike, and I used to stand on the seat and jump over hedges and walls and
stop showing off.
Homes and
stop showing off. Don't rub it in.
And yes, I've also tried surfing, and it's great when you stand up.
I bet you're dead good at it, aren't you?
No, I'm rubbish. But it's great, it's fantastic. Everyone should give it a try.
We were going to do it when we went to Galway, but the weather was atrocious.
The weather's never atrocious in Ireland. It's always raining.
It was a proper storm. Beautiful, but the Galway was great. Okay, so thank you very, very much, Tom Turtle. So next up we've got Left Winger 84. He's put, "G'day from Australia. First Speak Friend and Question." Whoa, Dave, do you watch Speak Friend and Question?
I do sometimes.
It's his first question. What does Left Winger 84 have to do?
He has to stay in the loop by asking another question next week.
Spoken like a true pro. Okay, he's put, I'm just getting back into the hobby, in part thanks to your great channel. That's fabulous news. And I'm putting together my Rohan and three Hunters army for my first tournament. Absolutely brilliant. Well done you. That sounds very fluffy and my kind of army. But would you recommend having one large warband led by Eomer or Erkenbrand with the other heroes floating around that? Or is it a better idea to have many smaller warbands, other heroes being Eowyn, Theoden and maybe Gamling? Well, if you're going for that kind of three hunters, when the three hunters meet Eomer, you've got to do Marshal of the Riddermark, as many riders as you can get into a warband depending on what points you're doing, and then simply the three hunters on foot. That would be the fluffiest way to go. And if you're looking to be competitive, then you leave behind the whole idea of fluff, because you probably wouldn't take the three hunters alongside it unless you mounted Legolas, mounted Aragorn, and went for some elite choices with your riders and try and get some more heroes in, because Eowyn's pretty cheap and Erkenbrand's a good go-to, and you wouldn't necessarily need Eomer because you've got your Aragorn, you know, and your Legolas who are good enough, so you could maybe get Eowyn and Erkenbrand to come along, which is probably what I would say.
I'd definitely say get Erkenbrand, especially. The last thing you want is the likes of Aragorn to have to fail a terror test against some evil monster when Erkenbrand just gives them a practical straight through.
Yeah, and he's cheap as well. Erkenbrand is cheap. He's cheap and plays a very good role. So next up we've got Johnny Graham Beggs.
Hello Johnny, how are we doing? Hi guys, only one question this week. In my last question I mentioned War in the North, a video game. I was wondering, do you think Games Workshop would ever release miniatures or characters from the Lord of the Rings video games? That's a very interesting question. That's a very interesting question.
No. No, that will not happen.
I've not personally played War in the North, have you?
Neither have I. I believe that Jane was going to, even though I don't really play computer games, I'll check on Skyrim if I'm not well or something like that. I do like a bit of Skyrim, but I don't really play computer games massively. But Jane was going to get me that Shadow of Mordor, the Shadow of Mordor game, the latest one, and she didn't in the end. I don't know why, but she did. It was one of those presents, you know, she said, I was going to get you this, but I didn't. They'll never do. I don't think that will ever happen, ever. So for those of you, I think if you want to sort of get those characters on the grow, then you need to do a little bit of conversion work and use existing profiles, because I don't think that will ever happen in terms of how intellectual property works and licensing and all that kind of stuff. Because the computer games will have a license with Tolkien Estates, and by the sounds of it with New Line, because it's some of it's based, some of its movie aesthetics and stuff. And then it's exactly the same with Games Workshop. You won't get Games Workshop getting IP through the computer game and then going that way. Just no way. So I'm sorry about that, buddy, but definitely not, I don't think. So next up we've got Brandon Cooper. He's put, this was my comment for last week, but it wasn't read out due to being on the phone, so here it is again. Sorry about that, that does happen when we're using the phone. He's put, just like to say, I've been here since around 200 to 300 subscribers. Fantastic, very good. Can you remember when you first saw the channel?
Yes, 8 months ago.
8 months ago?
When I first got into The Hobbit itself, dragged in by you and Jay, in fact.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. People have been around for a while now, and we're nearly on 3,000 subscribers. Can't believe it. So you're doing great, everybody. Keep on sharing, liking. And I've said this in a couple of videos lately. We get a lot more views than we get likes, and I'm pretty sure at the end of every video we say comment, like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so all of you should be subscribed, and we should be having hundreds and hundreds of likes.
But we do like all of them, don't we?
Not the ones who don't comment.
Okay.
Or like. I don't like you if you don't like me.
You're lying.
I'm only joking. So you put here, you may remember me asking questions a while back, and on the Twitter account. I certainly do, Brandon. You put, I'm finally back asking questions, even though I've watched every Speak Friendly question since the last time I asked a question. So my question is, what model would you have liked to be released that wasn't during the Lord of the Rings releases? As always, thank you for the great content you guys provide week in, week out. Love from Brandon. Well, absolutely fine, Brandon. I'm glad you're enjoying the channel. So, models that weren't released that they plan to release. Well, I've always wanted to get my hands on one of these Thorongil models. The Aragorn in the Aragorn as Thorongil, which is basically Aragorn in Rohan armour.
Oh right. Oh yes, of course.
From when he rode with Theoden's dad, Thengel. So yeah, I think something like that. And also, I believe in, although I've not massively got loads of knowledge of this, but I do believe that in the Legions of Middle Earth there were loads and loads of potential sort of warriors and stat lines which didn't end up being models. So I think there were things like Wardens of Umbar and stuff like that, and I would have loved those kind of models to come out. Son of Ale dismounts. There you go, Sons of Ale dismounts, that's a good one. How about you? You weren't involved in it then?
I wasn't involved in it, and I'm really struggling. There's only two, from watching the films, I've read the book 43 times. Oh my goodness gracious me, yes. I tried to do one every year, except not when I was 3, so I did a couple. Anyway, moving on very, very rapidly. The two ruffians that had Bill the pony, that would have been kind of interesting just for a collector's point of view, and the Entwives would have been very interesting too, though we never saw them in films and they were only just mentioned in books. They weren't meant to be released, but if they were, they'd be interesting to be collected, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that'd be quite cool. Yeah, that's a good point actually. You've got the, I think you pronounce it the horns.
The H-U-R-N-S?
Yeah, so they're not the Ents, but they're like they're like Ents, I suppose, the tree kind of.
They are.
You know what I mean?
They may have been brought out by Games Workshop under a different name for a different system, Warhammer Fantasy, as Dryads.
Okay.
They're very similar. I've got a few. I'll bring them around and show you one day. But they're smaller than tree Ents, but yeah, similar.
Good stuff. Okay, so next up we've got Akathon 39.
Hello, Akathon. I think, oh, he's got 2 there. Right.
He's got 3, he's in a triple.
Hello, Akathon 3 times, right. Hi guys, I've had some troubles via PayPal, as James might already know. Is it alright if I do a bank transfer? You can transfer it to me if you want. If so, how would I let you know that it's me who's giving you the money without any comment section? Is there a deadline for DOS, which is Desolation of Stockport, of course, or any way of reserving a place? Because I'd be glittered, indeed, if he missed it.
I think that's definitely an auto-crit. I'll be glittered. I think that's going to be... You'd be rolled around in PVA and, you know, loads of people run around you, scattering glitter over, you'd be glittered. It's like the the glam version of being feathered.
Or might even explode like a firework.
Could be something like that. Okay, yeah, so of course you can do the bank transfer. I believe we've sent you the details on how to do that. We know it's you because when it transfers over, your name should be as a reference, but you can actually put as a reference your name when you send the payment over. And if you send an email when you do that, I'll be able to see whether that's come through or not. And that's how you can pay for that. And try and do that as soon as possible. So then you've gone on to put, I think that the phone might have cut it out, but my Balrog profile would also get +1 will per turn and do magic like Smaug. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. That would make him a lot better. My question is, how did Gandalf manage to kill it? He'd have no chance in SBG, and in real life I suppose convenience made him beat it by not properly explaining how he did it. What do you think? Well, if you go into the lore of Middle-earth, a Balrog is effectively the evil equivalent of the Astari. Indeed. It's the evil equivalent, so they are matched. You know, think of dark and light perfectly kind of matched, really. And the thing is, in the movies and in SBG, the Balrog is kind of turned more into being this big scary monster rather than being, you know, this magical, powerful entity that's... I mean, you get a bit of that, I suppose, in the movie. But if you look at the lore and you look at the appendices about Balrogs and you look at the Silmarillion about Balrogs, they're very, very different. And Gandalf is, you know, they are the equivalent of Gandalf, and Gandalf are the equivalent of them, same as Saruman. You know, it's the Astari and the Balrogs are the two opposing forces for good and evil.
Indeed, indeed. I'm reading that question, I've only got a silly comment to make. Balrog's big, he's got a big belly. When he hit the ground, Gandalf bounced. Balrog was seriously injured.
You should know when you fall from a great height, bouncing is not a good idea. If you fall out of a plane, guys, try not to bounce, because that's the bit where all of those broken bones pierce your organs and you die. So, yeah.
But a very, very cool question. It is interesting, but I think you got to relate back to what James said. The imagery of the Balrog is going to be cinematically different to what the books will have. But yeah, it would be an interesting fight nonetheless.
And they are matched. And you know, you say that Gandalf beat the Balrog, but you know, he smited it, but at the cost of his own life. He cancelled it out. It's your plus and it's your plus and your minus. It's your alpha and omega. It's your yin and your yang coming together and cancelling each other out effectively. That's the way that I would see that. So, but also my favourite content you guys have ever done is battle companies. Comment below if you agree with that. I have
a lot of companies.
Yeah, I have a lot of companies, thanks to you guys inspiring me, and it might even be more fun than the typical game of SBG. Well, there is a Battle Companies League down in the south, and Battle Companies is a really good way of getting people into the game because it doesn't require many models. And yeah, we enjoy doing it too, and expect it to be back in the future with more of us. Hope you guys get back together, and I look forward to listening to what you have to say. Well, unfortunately, no Jamie this week, but Dave's doing a...
I'm going to get a cut-out cardboard version of Jamie and put it in this spot. Edit it in. Woo.
You know what you need? You just need like a scouse wig, really, don't you? You know, the big black hair. That's what you need. And then he's put final question of the week. What's the most filthy force you've had to play against? Mine was at 600 points against a wild chieftain, leaving 11 or 12 warg marauders. Yeah, that's pretty grim to play against. What would you say yours is the filthiest force?
I've had one or two. Steve's recent force, which I'm not going to fully mention, but I think you'll see in a bat rec coming up soon.
Yes,
that's
coming
filthy.
This Wednesday.
That's filthy. I have beaten it, but it's filthy. And then we have the likes of Ed Ball with his famous Hobbit army. I wouldn't class it as filthy, but oh.
I don't know. I think you could start to class it as filthy the moment that he's got Malbeth in there for obviously the save for the hobbits, and he's got other things that he's pulled in for the synergy, not because of they're not pulled in because of the fluff. Now there's nothing wrong with that, of course. Tournaments, no problem at all. But you would say that that's when things are being brought in for the synergy rather than for the theme. Hobbits are very competitive.
Indeed.
I think some of the filthiest armies that I've played though have been Haradrim armies, just because of how massively underpointed they are. So I would say that maybe the filthiest army I've had to play against is maybe Charles Sims's Watcher of Karna spam. It's very hard, and I played it once where he had the Gullivar in it as well, and was very lucky, very lucky to win that game in Stirling. So I would probably say that.
Yeah. I played against Charles's army as well. Mine got taken off the table. I have a problem with the word filthy because, as James quite rightly said, there's a lot of great fluffy armies out there, and people, when they get into the tournament scene, like to bring in that competitive aspect. And I think what you class as filthy and what is actually a competitive, very good, well-balanced army for the idea of winning a tournament, yeah, there's some brilliant ones out there. I've got to mention Jay Clare. Jay Clare at Stockport. I played against his all camel army, and that was tremendous. That was beautiful to see. But
see, I wouldn't in any way say that that's a filthy army, because on paper that doesn't. And Jay Clare's a very good player, so he's going to be able to make something like that. Make something like that work. But it's incredibly themed and fluffy, and everything that's there, you would say, would be a Muhud camel army. But I think it's more when particular types of troops are exploited. So I would even go so far as to say that the way that I've started to sort of move with my Rohan army is going more towards the filthy side. I would argue with anybody about when I started it, because people would say, yeah, but you use loads of Sons of El, but it was less than a quarter of my army was elites. But I would say now that I'm definitely exploiting the fact that, you know, I've got this incredibly powerful troop, and I've also got move and shoot with the other half of the army, so I've effectively got 50% bow limit. So you're exploiting certain ways to make the army more competitive. So it's when you bring things in for the synergy of how they work together. So, you know, it's like when you get, like, again, Charles, you know, I'm not attacking Charles here at all, but when he's got his like spider army he's got his spiders, and then he's got his Druzag, and then he's got his dwellers and stuff like that, which is, you know, similar to something else that we'll see soon. So I think it's when things are exploited, and that's why I would say that the filthiest army that I've had to play against, even though it's not unfluffy in a way that it's all from one list, is Charles Sims's Haradrim, because he massively exploits the Watcher of Kana underpointed 2-attack troop with all of these special rules, which he basically gets for free, with the 50% bow limit, and all of the +1 to wound and all of that kind of stuff. Not +1 to wound, sorry, re-rolling ones every single time, supported by Serpent Guard. It's horrendous to play against. So,
it is indeed. Yeah.
So wow, that took up a good amount of time. So thank you very, very much for that question. So next up we've got Thomas Sutton.
Hello Thomas, how are we doing? Thanks for answering my last question, guys. Great as always. Now I'm in the loop. My question is, recently I've come across a Grob blog, King of the Deep model,
Yeah.
and was seriously considering starting a Maria list. But I've never played a Maria list and need some advice on where to start. Watching your Maria and Angmar week, it seems shamans are the way to go and never use drums. Any advice? Thanks again, guys, and support your Hobbit hobby.
And you've got PS, I found Groblog and Abstract during a new store manager's clear out. I got them at normal retail price. Now I don't have to pay ridiculous amounts to get them. Good work, well done. Always a good idea to check out your local games workshops to see if they've got any stock in store that has now gone out. So for example, Osgiliath Ruins is a good example. Loads of Games Workshop stores have them in there, and it's going to save you a ton of money going on eBay and stuff, so, so have a little look. Okay, so advice for a Moria list, well I would definitely say, you know, that Moria and Angmar week is a good place to start. I think Jamie would say Shamans is a must, and going for a what are they called? The Gundabad Black Shield. Gundabad Black Shield Shaman.
Very powerful.
And having Gundabad Black Shields are very powerful troops supported by normal goblins with spears. I think that's what he would probably recommend. And then heroes which sort of buff it up. So there's I think there's one which helps with their Fury save and stuff like that, I think.
Yes, that's actually
that's Groblog.
That's Groblog. He makes a Fury save of 5+ rather than a 6+.
Which means you don't have to channel.
Indeed, you don't have to channel at all.
It's great. Have to channel it.
The great thing about Maria is that it has a selection of different shamans that can do different things. Azag, which will make spiders into venom bags for just an extra couple of points. Then you've got Druzbag, who gives Beastful Fury and Enrage. Yep. Very, very powerful against...
Yeah, get some bat swarms, that's a good call. Get a couple of bat swarms, 1 or 2 bat swarms. Are hard to take down, WOG Marauders are a really good way to go. There are lots of different kind of lists that you can do with Moria. So you can really hoard it out, and if you're going to hoard it out, you need things that are going to protect your troop types, so your Fury saves, and that's why you need to think about it with your heroes. You've also got to take into account that Goblins have got lowish fight value, so Bat Swarms are good because they're halving the fight value of other things. If you are going to take Druzhag, then you do want to get things like your Spiders, and your which are relatively cheap, your Spiders and your even Wogs, even just Wogs, because when they're enraged, just enraging one or two, putting it on a hero, it becomes a nightmare to deal with. You know, a lot of heroes have to heroic strike just to match an enraged Wog. You know what I mean? So that's a cheap way of dealing with heroes, especially if you've got a Bat Swarm on them and things. And then WOG Marauders, having a few of them in there is sure as hell way to kill stuff. So, or you could go for the other kind of build, the monster builds. So lots and lots of cool stuff there. So next up we've got Jeremy Smith.
Hello, Jeremy. I think this is your question, sir.
He's put terrible audio. he never pulls his punches, Jeremy Smith. He never pulls his punches. Have I seen you do a YouTube video? I need to look at your profile and see if you put something up and just massively slam what you put up. I know he's a big supporter. He's put terrible audio. You need to use a microphone when filming around crowds. In my honest opinion, damn near impossible to watch. Well, as I explained, if you've got a crowd in the background, you can take out the background noise. But what then does happen is the voices become incredibly tinny. So what I had to do was go through certain sections where it dropped out and try and isolate the voice and put the voice up. But of course you can't do that everywhere, because if you up the volume, then the crowd volume can go up as well sometimes. So it's tough to edit as well. So you know, I apologise that it wasn't the usual standard. You put rules question: when using a 3 trolls special, keep them for latter. Does the model bagged get an escape roll during the end phase on a 6? I believe so. It gets whatever it says it gets. It's in your rulebook, pal. So read your rulebook. And if you don't have the rulebook, go get it. Support your Hobbit hobby. And is the model left on the ground, or does the troll carry around the model in a bag pouch? Yeah, he carries it around, so you remove it from play, I believe.
I'm not familiar with the trolls, I do apologise.
You effectively remove it from play as if it's being carried around, I think. Although I've not come up against it low, so I can't go into too much detail. But I'm pretty sure that those rules are pretty clearly written, so go and check it out. If you don't have the rulebook, then you can read their rules by going onto the Black Library part of the Games Workshop website and checking out the Heroes and Villains of Middle-earth PDF completely for free.
Sounds a bit like half of Seize the Prize / Barrow White would paralyse.
Yes, yeah. It's very, very much like that. It's very much like Paralyze, effectively.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and then you put James. You need to come clean with Jane about Smaug. This secret will only come back and bite you in the bum.
After this part, we're going to have a serious chat. I'll educate the poor man about the deviousness of women finding out about things and killing you afterwards.
I've not been devious. I've not lied to her. I've just not told her. I've just not told her.
Sometimes it's best that it comes from you rather than from somewhere else.
Well, if anybody is a loser enough to contact my fiance,
I don't think
then you deserve to burn in hell.
Oh, my boyfriend does a GBHL channel. Oh, I've watched that. He's bought Smog. Do you know?
That would never ever happen. Jane, I don't think there is any even 6 degrees of separation between Jane and anybody in the Hobbit SBG community apart from via me. Which is what I'm banking on.
He has a lot to learn about women. Good luck. This could be the last time you see him. GBL gone.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm going to get my hair cut in 25 minutes.
So you'll find out soon enough.
I'll be back. Listen, I will find a way, and I'm trying to find a way that doesn't involve lying. But it's a tough situation to be in, because I don't like lying, and sometimes the best way to avoid lying is not to say anything at all. You know, so sometimes, and it's not like I've done anything wrong.
No.
I've not spent our money on it, although, don't get me wrong, what is mine is Jane's and stuff like that, but it's not like I've taken it from anything that would have gone to anything else. It's come from...
A woman has already mentally spent your money. The fact that it's no longer in
She didn't know that money existed.
Okay.
She didn't know that money existed, and that's my
Shall we move on from this? Because this is a story and a half, I think.
And Listen, it's a tough situation. What do you think I should do? Because, you know, I've come up with various elaborate plans. I said to Jamie, I said, you know what we should do when we do the Smaug unboxing? Because I think Jane is clicked to subscribe to the channel, so a Smaug unboxing would come up in her emails. So I said what we should do is we should wrap up the Smaug like it's a gift, and then we should be filming like as if we're doing a thing, go, this is a present from the community as a wedding present, everybody's chipped in. But that's lying, and that's why I won't do that. So it's a tough situation. Anyways, but Jamie, if present, how are you going to feel? Are you going to feel like a heel when you succeed in killing Frodo in a Fellowship series? Luke completed. First Age of Smith signing off. Thank you very much. Yeah, I know he's making a good job out of it, isn't he? He's trying to end the campaign early. And you put PS. What was the worst fight in inverted commas you, James and Jamie, have been in? And what was it over? Do you mean with each other?
I would imagine he means, because obviously the what was it over isn't necessarily going to be a...
I was going to say, because otherwise that would be a long speak-friendly question, the scraps that I've been in. For better and for worse.
More than likely it's based on the fact that he's been late.
No. Jamie's good at biting his tongue. The worst fight, like disagreement?
I think disagreement is a better word.
God, that's really tough because I'm not sure that we've... It's very interesting because a lot of people have clearly observed that Jamie and I are very different, very, very different people. It's one of the reasons why I think the show works quite well,
yeah,
and why we've brought the channel together. And there are lots of people who are going to like Jamie because he's from that sort of traditional wargamer. He was part of the league when it started and used to go to tournaments, and he has a whole history with it, and he knows that group of people, and you know he's got that kind of knowledge and that way of being as well.
He's very approachable. Very
approachable, really nice guy. And on the other hand, I'm not a nice guy, so completely different.
Still waiting for another coffee.
We've not got time.
Oh, mate,
when this is gone, you're out the door. It's like no games for you.
I'm already out the door twice so far, so it's good.
But surprisingly, we've not had any fights as such. I mean, I choked him out once. That was, we've been drinking in we've been drinking in Mansfield, and I believe that we all went back to. I don't remember much of this part because I was pretty slaughtered, to be honest, which is disgraceful. Don't do it. But I crashed out on. We went into Damien's room, and there was like 4 of them in that room, and I fell asleep on the bed, and I believe I kind of came to because Jamie had sort of jumped on me and tried to do something, but.
I heard of this, yeah.
I've done a bit of like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and mixed martial arts.
The pillow got it.
Cage fighting, and effectively sort of swept him, took his back very quickly, and choked him out. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to make out I'm some kind of well-hardy kind of thing. I've been beaten up many a time, like many a time. But that doesn't really count as a disagreement. That was more of a sort of, and then we went back up and we like. He wanted to learn some stuff, so it was me and him completely drunk at 4 in the morning, wrestling round in a bedroom, which sounds awful.
Okay, let's stop that just here for the younger viewers. Moving on.
I think Jamie. I think disagreement. Jamie tried to tell me off about something that happened at not the league final Stockport. The Stockport before that, we all went for a meal, and I won't bring it up, but something happened during the meal. And I gave the person a good kind of dressing down about what had happened, you know, and there was obviously a disagreement there. And the next day, Jamie sort of informed me that a lot of people were quite disappointed about how I'd been. And I'm self-employed for a reason, and it's because I don't like being managed, you know what I mean, at all.
The same me, I'm also self-employed, but I think we're both losers.
It's not, you know, and it's hard sort of outside of your relationship to sort of be told what to do by somebody, and I kind of said, you know, you're not my manager. But that's not really, it's not really a disagreement. No, we get on great.
I think that's a very, very difficult question. I think actually Jamie needs to be here for the two of you to have a bit of a...
I know, he might remember something. Yeah.
He might remember every single bat record. Right.
No, we've never really had any disagreements, I would say. We're like that, Jamie and I.
That's good. That's good.
So next up we've got Joel Stuckey. Oh, Brad Thigh Hipster put back in the loop, but that doesn't count.
Welcome.
Okay, Joel Stuckey.
Hello, GBL hosts. Thanks for answering my questions referenced dwarf armies and Australian community. I'm on the hunt for some Warriors of Erebor, and the Aussie community on Facebook is very active. Well, excellent.
Great
Look,
news.
lots of WIP posts, tournament discussions and rule clarifications. Well, that's good to know. Brilliant. My question this week is about the source books. I'm finding it quite difficult to find hard copies of the tombs, and it doesn't, whoops, sorry, I can't read it. And it doesn't look like it can buy electronic copies from Games Workshop. With source material going out of print, will we see e-copies released to make up for the shortfall? I don't know the logistics of making e-copies or e-books, but at least they'll always be available. Good point. Thanks again for the in-depth answers last week, and I'm looking forward to your future content. Right. I think James is definitely going to take this one because there is a bit of rumour news regarding the source books.
There is that there has been either a reprint or some have been found in the warehouse, but that some of them will be coming back soon.
Brilliant.
So that has been mentioned, but I think that this would definitely make a Speak Friend and Question FAQ video, because it's coming up quite a lot. People asking about the availability of the source books and whether Games Workshop will do a PDF and whether we think that they'll do that. Now, do remember that we know as much as you guys. Really, you know, we're not in contact with Games Workshop. They don't pay us to do this or anything. We just happen to play their game and enjoy it and want to promote it. It would make sense if they didn't want to do a reprint for them to have an ebook version and sell it online, because it doesn't cost them anything really, because they'll already have the material which they would put into print usually. They'll already have all of that, so they literally just transfer that and make it a PDF. But the issue with that is that, you know, one thing that they might have an issue with, and I don't know if anybody would agree with me, anybody who knows about licensing and stuff, but what they might have an issue with is whether they are allowed to make digital. Mind you, they've done it with Heroes and Villains of Middle-earth, so I would say that surely they
And with the Battle of Five Armies.
And with the Battle of Five Armies. But then again, they might not have had that from Lord of the Rings, and that might be a very specific part of the licensing agreement of whether they're allowed to electronically produce stuff online. So I don't know if there's been any history of there being any kind of Lord of the Rings online thing, and that might be a new part of the Hobbit agreement, so for the Hobbit. So unless, I mean, it makes sense to me that there would be ebooks available when source books become null and void, in order to allow people to keep playing the game and keep buying the miniatures. However, the only thing that comes to mind of a reason why that might not happen when they come out is to do with the licensing, and whether there is something very specific about producing sort of literature regarding the game online. They might only have a license to print these things. You never know. So, but apparently there's going to be some out there lately, and again, apparently there are lots around in lots of Games Workshop stores, particularly in the UK. So make sure you you ring around various Games Workshops, because there's usually quite a few in there.
Indeed. I mean, it's all about supply and demand, guys. If the demand is there, the supply will reappear, especially if this rumour is correct. They are going to bring out reprints, or they found more copies. You know, if you see them and you can, buy them.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in coming back 6 months later and going, oh, I haven't got that, and that would be great.
Yeah, I would say exactly the same for miniatures as well. There were lots of miniatures that I was devastated that went out of production, and you know, what are now considered to be rare miniatures that were available when I joined the Hobbit, with the Lord of the Rings strategy battle gaming community. They were available, and I thought, oh, I don't really need them right now, I'll get them another time. And they went out of production, and then of course the premium goes up on them. So make sure you do things like buy your source books, guys, and don't just buy the source book for your army. Get them all, because you'll learn the rules for all the armies, and then you've got that forever. You can play the game forever. You can get people into the game forever. So those are the important things to buy. Okay, so next up we've got J22.
J22, great episode, guys. Steve fit in perfectly and did a great job standing in.
Rate Dave.
Steve will be back.
Who would win?
Jamie will be back.
It'll be one of those, who would win?
Bring back Jamie.
Dave
Bring back
or
Jamie.
Steve?
The final
Who would win?
Okay.
Who would win?
Hey Jay, anyway, I'll crack on with your question. In answer to your question about which videos I enjoy the most, the book reviews are right up there, as you learn a lot about other armies you might not necessarily use. but SFAQ and the Palantir are great for when I need to do some painting, while bat reps are there just for pure enjoyment. I agree. Yeah, I sit back and do a bit of modelling or a bit of painting when you guys are nattering around. By all means. Now I might not watch this one because I'm on it. Anyway, my question this week is...
You'll be like me.
Look at me, it's me!
I watch videos I'm in at least 4 times.
It's GBHL Dave for half an hour.
I watch it and I'm like, look, I'm on telly.
I go, okay, come here, take a look, it's me! Or my daughter, Daddy's on TV. Anyway, moving on, sorry Jay. My question this week is, which characters from Lord of the Rings / Hobbit will be a good fit in the main characters from Star Wars? And, okay, I suppose Saruman and Count Dooku?
As Count Dooku
As Count Dooku, yeah, counts, yeah. As always, heads up for the great work. Well, indeed, for the great work. Now, Star Wars, that's an interesting one.
Okay, so Lord of the Rings characters that would be a good fit as the main characters from Star Wars. So, yep, Saruman as Count Dooku works because, of course, of the actor.
Jabba the Hutt would be the Goblin King.
Jabba the Hutt Goblin King's a good call. Gollum as Yoda. That's a good shout. I think...
Aragorn as... I've forgotten his name. Poof. Not Luke. Aragorn as...
Han Solo?
Yes.
No, Han Solo's got to be more of more sort of rebellious and cocky and...
I thought...
Maybe Boromir. Han Solo,
okay.
Boromir. Han Solo, Boromir, I think.
But I thought in the film, I mean the book, Boromir is very good, but in the film he's quite negative, and that's what a lot of people have seen. And I thought Han Solo would be a lot more
Although you could have
positive.
Yeah, well, you could say that, but you know, in the books, he's a bit of a beast. Boromir.
Is he? Okay.
But then I guess you could do, if you did go for Aragorn as Han Solo. No, because he's not got the banter, has he? he's not got the fun value. Because then you could do Arwen as Princess Leia, and you've got a nice little connection there.
Yes. Legolas as Luke Skywalker,
maybe,
the blonde hair.
or Faramir. Faramir as Luke would be a good call.
Yes.
Darth Vader is obviously Sauron. Darth Vader is a good call. Mind you, then you've got the Emperor. The Emperor
will be Sauron. The mouth of Sauron would be Darth Vader.
No. Then it'd have to be the Witch King. Would have to be Darth Vader. The Witch King, Darth Vader. The Witch King, Darth Vader, and Sauron would have to be the Emperor.
Who's Chewbacca? Gimli.
Oh, so you say that? It's too
sorry.
short.
He's too short, but he's got the hair. Hair to
Treebeard. Treebeard is Chewie. There you go. Silly questions, some silly answers there.
Thank you very much for that, by the way.
We'll move on. Okay, so we've got Ryan Shady Shores, but hey guys, my first time commenting. I've got to thank my uncle Al Wood for introducing me to the channel. Now, I'm not a player of the game, just intrigued by the community on here. Well, get on it, get involved. Try and come to Stockport, Destination Stockport 2015. My question is, in your opinion, which is the best looking ring wraith miniature? Mine is definitely the Dark Marshal on foot. Thanks, Ryan. I really like the aesthetic of the Knight of Umbar.
Yes, the Knight of Umbar is a very nice model.
I do like Dark Marshal. Dark Marshal's nice.
I actually like the Dwimmerlig. He's very robed like an actual ring wraith, but he's just got that bit of armoury here and there. At present, I'm actually chopping the foot model up to put him on a Felby's because I'm doing the full 9 in metal.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, the only model I haven't got, I mean, he gets all the freebies here, but if you want to throw me the Dark Marshal in metal, woo!
Don't send him any freebies. If you got freebies to send, you know where to send them, guys. I called first dibs in the whole world.
I think I like the Dark. I think the Dark Marshal is a fantastic looking figure aesthetically. I just don't rate him in the game. I couldn't.
He's alright.
I could never see him just played on his own.
He's alright. It's just he's not as good as some of the others.
No.
He's one of the ones that you might bring as a buff to sort of troops and stuff. I think.
Correct.
And remember, he's 5'6".
Yeah, he does have that.
He's 5'6", and he does give the banner reroll to troops and stuff that he leads. So, I do like him. I think Knight of Umbar is probably my favourite aesthetic. Mind you, I love the wetter aesthetic of the Witch King, which I've mentioned before. However, I really do like the kind of the traditional ring wraith poses. The ring wraiths, like the first lot of the 9 that you got with the Fellowship. I think that they're really, really nice. So if anybody would like to send me a box of the metal original ring wraiths,
I have them.
lovely.
But you're not getting them. I have those.
Get out!
That's 3 times, 3
Get out!
strikes.
Strike
Woo!
3. 3 strikes. Speaking of which, I will have to message Jane in a minute and tell her I'm running late for my haircut. Because we have loads of questions left. Okay, so we better get a move on. So, Samuel Thompson.
Hello, Samuel. Right, cracking on as I can.
Yep.
So I started playing over a few years ago. I've got the whole couch to myself. Woo! Right, over a year ago now.
I'm not being rude, I'm texting.
A long-time friend introduced me to it when I was about 8, and at the age of 17 I finally bought my own armies. For about 4 months now I've watched every single GBHL video, and have to say it's my favourite one is the Backgate Battle, which was GBHL Damien when he boshed so badly. Right, anyway, here's my first question. Being in Canada, hello Canadian people, around Ottawa, and not having my license, it's very hard to get to play some games. I see my old friend maybe 5 times a year, but not enough for me to actually get some games. So how should I get some games in? Well, I really like this question because this is where I put forward the idea of you be charming and you be out there. 1, message a few people on various forums. 2, if you've got a local GW store or a local store that runs games, perhaps go in there and see if they can kind of promote the Hobbit a little bit more. You might find that perhaps even your literal next door neighbour might also be interested in this sort of stuff and meet you up inside there. If you're struggling with a local store, as I said, forums are great, maybe Facebook messages and stuff. Find out if there's more people out there. You're doing exactly what you need to do. Put your question on here and get it out to the community.
Wow, spoken like a true host of Saturday Night Takeaway. Just as a quick little addition to that, I just caught the back end of that. There's a population finder on the Facebook group, so go onto the Great British Hobbit League Facebook group, ask to join that, and put the question in and get yourself on the population finder, because I know for a fact that there are quite a few players in Canada, and I'm pretty sure if they're watching this that they might be able to come and meet with you, which would be good. Also, population finders on the One Ring forum is very, very good to find players in the area, but the best thing to do is sort of get yourself down to your local games workshop or a local gaming store and offer to play other people's systems, and then try and get them to maybe play a little bit of Hobbit as an introduction game. And that's the best way to get people involved, so I hope that helps. Right, so we're going to race through this now. Okay, Thalianor. So James, you still haven't told Jane about Smaug. I really think you should, with an ellipsis at the end. I'm being really told off. Why are you judging me, guys?
I think you're getting the answer. You need to tell Jane.
What are you all like?
Oh, give me Smaug.
You're all terrible. What does it matter to you lot? This is my problem.
It matters because they care.
What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
I think basically you will end up telling Jane, but you don't want to get it in the way of getting the preparations for your wedding.
What you guys don't understand is, you might understand a little bit, and some of you guys who've got married might understand, but weddings do cost quite a little bit, quite a lot of money, and Jane and her family are warriors, like they are warriors. Now, I am much more chilled out about everything, like much more, and I have to spend my whole time convincing Jane and her family that we are going to be okay and are going to be able to pay for everything. No matter what concerns I've got myself, any worry that I have, I make sure I respond to that with positive action to make sure I can pay for things in a logical way. But a lot of their worry is often illogical, and I don't think it would be very fair.
You don't need to fuel the fire.
I don't think it'd be very fair to Jane and her worry, and this isn't me like trying to legitimise it. I don't think it's very fair to add to Jane's, or add to her opinion that, well, hang on, why would you spend 200 odd quid on a toy when we need that to pay for the choir? Now in my mind, the choir's still going to get paid for, and this or for the bells, or for whatever else, the favours, whatever it is. She wouldn't see the fact that we can do both. She would see it as that money has been taken away from our ability to do that. So I'm probably not going to tell her until after the wedding, to be perfectly honest. And it's not me lying, it's going to live at Jamie's. It's just me not worrying her about finances.
I'm going to just very quickly here be devil's advocate. I can see why he has it. We've all seen the OOP miniatures come, then go. As a face of the GBHL channel, along with the other guys...
Prettiest one.
Well, humility was definitely given out last in this guy. But without cracking on too much, we needed a Smaug in the community. We needed someone to be able to put it up there and unbox it and put it together and paint it, etc. So I can see on his side why it was bought. but I can also see the difficulty of mentioning it to Jane from this point on. So perhaps, guys, what we'll do is we'll give the guy a wee break on the smog aspect, please, for at least a number of months, and then after he's married, we can just bombard the channel with these questions.
I'm going to tell her while we're in Disney. I don't think it's possible for Jane to get angry while we're in Disney, so there we go.
Trust me, tell her after Disney. Don't ever try and ruin something that's perfect.
It won't ruin it for her.
Anyway, moving on.
She'll be living a dream then. She'll be married to me. She'll have no worries at all, ever. Okay, and you put, anyway, I just thought I'd say something really quickly because it's been a while. Also, I've recently joined the New Zealand Hobbit League. Great work. And I'm really excited for my first tournament in April. You're not flying over here, are you?
I don't think he is, but if he was, it'd be great to see you. Unfortunately, I won't be here.
Good, and really good to see that you get involved in the New Zealand Hobbit League, and there are lots of Hobbit leagues out there. So get involved, guys. I'm going to race through these and read them dead quick.
I'll just throw in my little comment every now and then. There's one or two questions I'd like to answer, but you go for it.
Yeah, well, it gives you more chance for answering. Hi guys, long time listener, first time caller. I have a problem in that I can never stay focused on one army project and finish that before moving on to another army. We all have that problem. Currently, I have, off the top of my head, Thorin's Company, Durin's Folk, a Born of Hope inspired Grey Company, that sounds interesting, Eastern Kingdoms, an Orc Horde, the Last Alliance, a few Haradrim, Gang of Ruffians, and possibly others in various states of completion. However, only one of those armies has a 500 point force that is fully painted. And now, having watched the Morio and Angmar weekly videos, all I want to do an all-spirit Angmar force. So my question is, how do you keep focused on one army project without being distracted? I think I've got a relatively quick answer to this, is arrange to go to a tournament.
Yes, that would force you to paint as well as you can to get that notch on the painting award if possible, but also make sure that your armies are more focused. And that'll do it.
That's how I got my 500 points of Rohan painted. I had a period of time kind of out of the hobby before the channel, so I'd got into it, I'd got stuff. I had a period of time where I didn't play didn't even meet up with Steve or Pete or any of those guys that I mean, I know you see Steve now, but Pete, who you see in the early battle reports. And the only reason why I got that Rohan all-mounted army finished, or to a battlefield standard, you would say, was because I was determined to get myself to Preston as my first tournament. So organising to go to a tournament and organising to go and play games is the best way, but of course a tournament means you've got to have it painted. Okay, so we are racing through. So we've got Jamie Mystery Evans. He's put, hey guys, I'm just getting back into the hobby after many years in the wilderness. Well, it's great that you have seen the light and you have returned to civilization. I caught the bug again after watching all of the Lord of the Rings extended editions, then discovered your awesome channel, which got me very enthusiastic about the prospects of getting involved in this brilliant community. Well, you should be welcome. Welcome to the Hobbit SBG community, strategy battle gamer. I'm playing an intro game or re-intro game of Battle Companies at Firestorm Games in Cardiff tomorrow. Great news! There are a few guys who are based down that way because they're running the Siege tournament.
They are, which is...
Oh, is that the rest of his question?
Follow on.
I've already booked my ticket for the Siege tournament being held there in May. Good man. My question is, are any of you GBHL channel guys going to the Siege tournament? If not, what armies and tactics would you use? Cheers and thanks for all the great content.
Step aside, young man. Here we go.
I'm just going to say that unfortunately, as much as I would love to go and support this event, I'm not going to be going to many tournaments at all this year just because of the wedding. But I do recommend everybody goes and tries it out because it's something unique, it's different, it'll be great fun. The lads who are running it are lovely guys, and it'll just be great. If I was going, I would take something really fluffy. I wouldn't go there because it's a Siege tournament. I wouldn't go there to win or anything. I would take like Isengard with all the Siege stuff and the things that you don't normally get a chance to take. That's probably what I would do. But you are going.
I am going, yes, and I will see you there and I'm looking forward to it. What advice and tactics? Well, the first thing is the scenarios. There's 3 scenarios we're playing on. We, as attackers, you attack the walls. Then second scenario, you're inside the walls trying to attack buildings, and then the third scenario is something similar to, I believe, Lords of Battle or to the Death. It's going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of people already throwing questions at both Alistair and Matt regarding some of the Siege rules. Me personally, I'm not like him. I'm taking some fell beasts and some spiders to get to those walls to scour them as quick as possible. That's just me.
That's because you're dirty and horrible.
I'm dirty and I'm horrible apparently, but the point is what you want to be thinking is you want to get to the wall quickly as the attacker, as the defender. You may want a lot of bow shots. The main two problems that I see is that the attackers, normal troops, come back on a 4+ because there's just hordes of them, and defenders are never broken when they're on the walls. So it's going to be very, very interesting.
I'm hoping that people don't go the way that Dave is going and go for things like siege engines, trebuchets, ballista, you know, the Uruk-hai demolition teams. I'm really hoping for stuff like that, bringing the ladders, armies throwing stones, trolls throwing stones, just stuff like that. It'd be great.
You do get 100 points for siege.
That's cool.
Engines extra on top of your pointage, so I think a lot of stuff. But yes, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be cool. I can't wait to see the scenery because the guys have put a lot of effort into cleaning it all together. Anyway, thanks for the question.
So next up we've got Jorik Vriend. He's put, yeah, Steve, Lord of the Rings, The War in the North has the talking eagle. Great game, by the way, for playing co-op with a buddy. I've not played Lord of the Rings games.
But great question.
Okay, so next up we got Pandemonium 1337. He's put, hi guys, thanks for answering my question concerning Tom Bombadil and Goldberry. Absolute pleasure. My next question adds onto this question. You said that although Tom and Goldberry obviously can't be killed, forces that use them will probably lose in the scenarios. I give you now this cheesy list. Tom Bombadil, Goldberry, Treebeard, and maybe an allied contingent from Minas Tirith, Boromir with a banner of Minas Tirith. I only see this list losing in a Reconnoiter scenario, since it only has 4 models and it can technically not be broken. You can't kill Tom or Goldberry, and Treebeard as well as Boromir are tanky enough to survive any onslaught, especially with Tom and Goldberry healing them every turn. You even get additional victory points because Boromir will still have a banner at the end of the game. How is a list like this considered to be fair in a tournament? Because we've seen it. People have tried this. Have you? This sounds really condescending, but have you been to many tournaments, any strategy battle gaming tournaments? Because it's only when you go there and you play against real people who are playing tournaments all the time that you realise that a lot of the theory behind things can often break down once you actually see it on the table and play with it. So there is Godolphin. Godolphin brings this list, and I'm sure that Jamie's done Tom Bombadil and Boromir and Goldberry, and he'd be good. And they didn't win because they struggled with scenarios. Yeah. Because you say that they can't be killed, but let's have a little bit of a look here. So domination requires things to be spread out. Yeah. So you would have to go and get those objectives. If your opponent's clever, they're just going to try and split your army up.
Hold ground.
Hold ground. You can just jump on there right at the end. You know, you stay away, you avoid them like the plague, you don't let them get anywhere near you, you just skirt around until, because remember these are timed games in tournaments, you know, obviously if you're playing a game without a time limit then that can become difficult. But if you're playing a timed game, at some point it will get to last turn and the person who needs to jump on the hill will simply just jump on the hill the last turns when you can't do anything and they get all of the points for having everything there. Yeah. So it's not as straightforward as you think.
Desolation Stockport, the Scouts one?
Yeah, the Scouts one. But talking about traditional tournament, yes, you'd say to the death. To the death is where you almost definitely going to lose or draw, because you're not going to really break them unless you're really lucky in taking something, because you've got to take things out in one go. That's the only way of beating this list, is taking things out in one go. So to the death is a tough one, but scenarios are more than one game, you know. You've got that variety of scenarios to balance these situations.
I think there's only one way to test this out, and that's try it. Even take it for giggles to a tournament and see how you get on, but don't expect just to lose on record.
And don't expect your opponents to have much fun playing it either, because it means that they will have to be very gamey in order to beat your very gamey force. So I know that if I played against that there is no way in hell that you are going to have any fun in that game playing against me, because you have brought something to not have fun effectively. You tried to bring a combination to break the game in a way. I'm not having a go, like, not in a negative way, because Godolphin, who's a lovely guy, he does that. He does that. But in order to beat you, I'm going to have to just run away the whole game, and then in the last turn jump on the objectives that I need to and win. You know, so
it's a very powerful army, but powerful armies don't win games.
I think a lot of people, and again, this isn't just, he might turn around and say he plays games all the time, and so I'll put my hands up. But I think that it's very easy when people aren't playing the game regularly and playing scenarios or going to tournaments. It's very easy for people to see an army build and think of it in terms of like a pitched battle. So they're thinking of it as a pitched battle all the time. So well, you're never going to be able to break. You're never going to be able to do this because but the scenarios aren't pitched battles. They're scenarios which often require you to clash. You know, but really you play for the scenario. So that would be my answer to that. Anyway, better crack on.
Though. Thank you.
Yeah, very good question. Okay, so we've got Mabbers 290s, but sorry I've been absent lately. Well, at least you're back. But good news is the time was well spent and I've been accepted for my chosen career choice. Congratulations! I started about a month's time in the military. Good lad. So I won't get to ask questions as often as I'd like, but good news for Jamie, 26 questions when I'm done. Good lad. Good lad. What are you joining? What trade arm are you joining? And if you've got any questions at all about the military, feel free to ask. Anyway, this week I've been adding up my army. I'm looking to make a competitive list and I've bought all the Mirkwood units except the cavalry because they are unarmoured and they're pants on horseback. My list is in this stage of finalising, but I need to make cuts. I currently have Thranduil, the new one, Legolas, the new one, and a new Galadriel profile. The difficulty is getting these three in my army as Galadriel cannot lead troops, which means my numbers would take a severe hit. Alternatively, I can take Eristor, a banner and some high elves, or a knight captain plus a couple of knights. This is for 500 and 750 point lists. Which of these would you prioritise out of the heroes mentioned, and what troops are the most important? Rangers, guards, armoured troops or high elves? I chose Eristor as backup as he is great for his points and allows me to squeeze in a few defence 6 elves for much cheaper cost than Palace Guard, of which I plan to include between 2 or 4. Sort of like a close bodyguard to Thranduil. Oh, I also do not want to use Tauriel just to break the mould a little. Thanks guys, all the best. Marty.
I'm not very familiar with good lists, but from what I've seen, those three, Galadriel, Thranduil and Legolas, they're great, but in a 500 point army, they're great more on their own as a single main focus in the army.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've seen Thranduil being taken down by a few orcs and some spears, so you know, just be aware of that. Yeah, personally, I don't particularly like Cav when I'm tournament play. I take maximum with 3 cavalry models, whatever force I use. I like a bit of a punch. James takes a bit more than 3.
Takes a real man to take cavalry.
I'd suggest that those 3 are very powerful, they're great, but on a 500 point list they are maybe a bit too much, and which would I
especially the new ones. I mean the new Thranduil's Hall's list, and you know, Mirkwood armoured bowmen and Mirkwood armoured elves and all that kind of stuff is pretty good actually. It's got a good balance. But what you'll find in comparison to sort of your old sort of Mirkwood Lothlorien list is that they are more expensive, and as a result you are going to be taking less troops. So I would say in 500 points you are probably only going to get sort of 2 warbands if you take the new Legolas and you take the new Thranduil, and then you know a reasonably powerful thing. You're probably only going to you might get
around
more.
250 points for those 2 alone. Is there something like that?
At least it's more than that. It's more than that because the new Legolas is more.
That doesn't leave you a lot.
It doesn't leave you a lot left over. So, whereas you know, like with your old Mirkwoods and stuff, you'd probably get 3 mid-level point heroes and almost 4 full 3 warbands in 300 points, sort of 9, 10 in each warband with the old elves. If you want to take Eristor, you know he's cheap, and take some high elves, and that's fine. I could see how that works maybe, or the Knight Captain plus some Rivendell Knights, but again they're quite expensive. But they are adding bows and they are adding a bit of punch to your force. You just got to go with what you think. You know, you can get your elites by getting your Palace Guard in there and get your defence 6. But it sounds like it looks like you've got Eristor as something in your mind. So go with that, see how it goes, and don't be afraid to sort of change things up a bit.
I think harking back to a previous point you made was look at the scenarios of the tournament. Look at what you need to achieve and build your force appropriately around that.
I definitely agree with that. But good luck with that. So next up we've got David Whittaker. He's put scoured the DCHL. So that scouring, I checked, and not many of you did it. So I'm not doing a scouring this week. If you want a scouring, you've got to earn the right to scour. All right. If you want to do it, check out last week's Speak Friend and Question and scour the DCHL channel. and only when I see that there are at least 20 of you have scoured him and subscribed to his channel and commented on that video that he's been scoured, only then will I do a new scouring. Okay, but although I've been following them for weeks now because their content is top notch, yeah, pretty good stuff.
I gotta see them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
I've got to sit down and watch them later on.
I recommend it to anyone. It's also interesting hearing the type of tactics DCHL Devin mentions, as often they seem kind of off the wall compared to the meta over here. I completely agree. I do listen to it and think, but this isn't me sort of being negative towards their channel at all.
I'm getting intrigued now.
Well, they talk about sort of certain kinds of combos, and the meta does seem very different over there, if they're of course managing to play tournaments and stuff like that.
Right, I see.
So it's quite interesting to hear, and like you say, David Whittaker, some of the things are pretty off the wall, but it does make an interesting watch, and it's very well presented. But also, have you seen the terrain they have? Hashtag that Lake Town. Yes, I have, and I recommend everybody go and watch the Smaug versus Lake Town scenario that they've got on their channel. It's a pretty good bat rep. On a related note, if you could have a themed custom battlefield, what scene from the movies or other place in Middle-earth would you want it to represent?
I've got to think of Azog chasing down the dwarves and Gandalf to the trees just on the edge. I'd like to see that.
Just pines and the cliff faces.
And some serious droppage.
Yeah. I would like... Well, I've obviously got lots of Rohan stuff. So I want to get Edoras into... I've not got all of Edoras, I've got Medicel and stuff, but I would like to do sort of a few bat reps in and around Medicel. It's just a tough thing to sort of have in a game. I would like... I've also got a Minas Tirith thing soon from Rick Fryer, so I bought his Minas Tirith board, or I will be buying that anyway. I've got my name down for it. I would love a model of Rivendell. A model of Rivendell, like a full kind of to scale model of Rivendell with the bridge over the waterfall, just that would be beautiful.
And all the dwarves bathing in the big fountain. Woo.
I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be really cool, and I think I'd also like Orthanc. So like like an Orthanc that went up, and then you had like all of the pits and the mines around, and then you had like the waterfall and everything, and then you had the outer wall with the woods on the outside. I think that would be pretty cool as a board. The dead marshes, so you had all like these little paths and everything that went around, and then you had the marshes, and
you see, you're thinking of location. I'm thinking of actual scenes from the film that actually fights occurred, but no, location. I'd love to see inside the gates, inside the black gates rather than outside. Yeah,
stuff like that'd be really cool. Okay, so next up we've got Lonely Cube Oneies, but thanks guys, here's my next question for James, Jamie, Steve, or whoever's there next week. Hey, well, since you're whoever, I'll let you answer this first.
Oh, okay.
How does the Knight of Umbar's combat mimicry work with heroic strikes? You're going to see this in the bat rep on Wednesday, because I checked, and it's the way around that I thought it was.
I love the Knight of Umbar, by the way.
Yeah, he's good. He's very good. He's one of the best combat wraiths, maybe the best combat wraith. If he's against a model with higher fights and he heroic strikes, does he copy the enemy's fight and then add the heroic strike bonus on top of that?
Yes, he does. He immediately mimics their basic stat line, and then he... Or are we arguing?
You're wrong.
Right, because I find this interesting. Does he not mimic from the start? Oh, we're getting a rule.
No, I'm going to show you now.
Okay. Personally, I think I'm going to be not.
I'm wrong.
I'm wrong! Are you making a coffee while you're out there, please?
No, because we've got to go and get me a haircut in a minute. Right, I'm going to show you now. Now, what's my rule book? There it is. Now, we had to check this in the game versus Steve.
Right.
Because I thought originally that might be the case.
That he'd mimic the stat line first and then put a heroic strike on top.
Yeah, okay. But the answer is in the heroic strike section of this. So when you go to heroic strike, so if Dave tries to do this to any of you guys in future tournaments, you know that he now knows this. And that would mean that he would be cheating because he'd now know the answer.
Everything about me is filled, from my t-shirt, my dice board, everything, even my colour schemes.
So you're about to hear the ruling for heroic strike. A hero who declares that he is using heroic strike adds d6 to his fight value for the duration of the fight phase. This cannot increase a hero's fight value above 10. Note that this bonus is applied before other effects are taken into account. So at the start of the combat phase, that happens first. So you heroic strike. If you heroic strike, you are heroic striking from your base level. It happens before other effects.
Interesting. Thank you. So basically, Knight of Umbar with a 5/5, needs 5 or 6 to hit the 10.
He does. And it puts here, thus, a hero who has been successfully targeted by the trans-6 house, this is an example, something happens in movement, would then have to to a maximum of 10 and then half the total, because this happens first. So that would be the same with combat mimicry. So guys, check me out, getting a roll right. So there you go.
But he does take this base stat line of the character that's been transfixed, not the transfixed line.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so. I think so.
No, that's definitely. I checked that out too.
Yeah, it will do. I think it says the base.
It says the baseline.
It does say the baseline
before any modifiers.
Yeah, so it's the same reason why he can't combat mimicry an opponent's heroic strike.
Serious. Thanks for asking that question, because that's put me in the light now. Thank you.
You probably didn't want to be in the light, did you?
I didn't want to be. I did want to be here.
If so, I imagine he and the Witch King with a Morgul Blade would be a decent counter to Smaug. That doesn't suffer greatly against everything else. Ring Raised is a good way to counter Smaug, I think.
Yeah.
Since the knight can almost always heroic strike to fight 10, and even if Smaug counters that heroic strike, win about half the time, then the Witch King has all his might left to make sure he wounds with the Morgul Blade. Actually, I have a related question now. If the Witch King has the Morgul Blade and he has his 3 attack hat, does he get the blade effect on all 3 strikes in the combat that is used, or only on a single strike? It's unclear from the wording in the book.
I can answer this. The wording in the book states near the end of it that if the Morgul blade causes any wounds, right, which indicates that if he has 3 attacks, he can use the Morgul blade on all of those 3, but the Morgul blade can only be used in one fight phase and it has to be declared before he rolls to wound.
Yeah, and it definitely says that.
It definitely says that. So the word wounds partially down the paragraph.
Yeah, it doesn't say instead he may choose to make 1 attack at this, does it? So you roll to see if you win the fight. Then you obviously declare whether you're going to use the Morgul Blade, then you roll to wound, and of course because you said that you're using the Morgul Blade, one of those strikes would count as being the wounding strike from the Morgul Blade, if you wound.
Wounds, it says.
Wounds. More than one? Okay.
More than one.
Okay, I'd have to check that out, because I don't know fully, but yeah, sounds about right. Okay, so next up we have got Ian Marley. He put, right lads, a proper question. You guys, James and Jamie, asked me what my favourite battle report was, and the look in both your eyes suggested that there was a right or wrong answer. And naturally, I felt obligated to give respective wrong answer, which I didn't. Really? So my question is, if there was any other battle report you could replay, what would it be and why, including the ones you were not involved in? What's your favourite battle report?
I've had 2 battle reports. One against Jay Finnegan, where I played Aragorn, Gwahir and 2 Eagles, my very, very, very first game ever. I'd love to replay that because I got Aragorn killed to the uproar and no. Hello, GBHL James. PPI, not needed. Whoops. That was just a PPI.
Didn't need to answer that one.
Nobody loves me.
Okay, so
I would definitely like to replay that one so I could play Aragorn a bit better than I did.
Yes.
And then the second battle report was my Warhammer Fantasy battle game against, and I got a lot of the rules wrong. So I'd love to replay that with you having the undead this time. And I'll take the exact same dwarf army.
Yeah, maybe. I think if I do Warhammer again, I'd want to do it with an incentive to build, like sort of build a list myself.
Yeah, you're interested in chaos.
I've got some of the Warriors Chaos stuff downstairs. So.
Maybe you might read the rule this time.
Yes, well, obviously I'd have to if I was reading.
Please.
Well, I'll have to sort of counter against any things that are wrong.
Phil, cheating, of course. They're the only 2 bat reps I've ever been involved in, and they're the ones I'd like to replay again. But you've been in some.
Which ones would I like to replay and why? I really enjoy, I guess it's the ones I enjoyed doing, so I really enjoyed Barley's Tomb. I would recommend anybody play that scenario. I thought that was great fun. It was really, really good fun. In terms of redo, I would love to go back and sort of, with everything that we've learned about filming and editing and better camera standard and lighting and all that kind of stuff, I would I would like to go back and do like the first back reps and things. So I'd like to redo the JT one where like the camera's turned the wrong way and it's going long ways, or you know, probably more from a quality point of view rather than what happens in the games, because what happens in the games is good fun, you know, and it happens, and whether it goes against you or. There were plenty of times as well where, because I've been filming, you know, we've got rules wrong and stuff, and I guess I would always like to go back and you would like to go back and do things properly how they're meant to be. So like,
but surely that's part of the game, and it's a learning curve. And once it's amongst friends, it's fine, isn't it?
Well, it can happen, can't it? It can happen. So it's always regrettable when that happens, though, and you feel like as a result of that you won when maybe you shouldn't, or something along those lines. So those would probably be the ones. But in terms of fun factor, I would like to redo Barlin's Tomb. If you've not watched the Barlin's Tomb back rep, then type it in and get it watched, because it's great fun. So next up we've got Wang11. Hi guys, I have finally decided to go with the 1000-point themed army of Army of the Dead force, including King of the Dead, 30 Warriors of the Dead with shield, Aragorn Strider on his horse with bow and elven cloak, Legolas with armour, elven cloak and horse, and lastly Gimli on a horse with Legolas and elven cloak. Thanks guys, and keep up the good work. Unfortunately you can't do that, pal. It looks like you're using the old Legions of Middle-earth rules, I think, where you've got like, you can take as many warriors to troops. You can't put Gimli on a horse with... You can't have Gimli on a horse as a profile with Legolas. I mean, you could do it for fun, you know, where you've got the models together, but you can't do that, I'm afraid. And also, you need one hero that can lead 12 warriors at a time with Warriors of the Dead. So you could have King of the Dead with...
Imral.
Sorry?
Imral?
Yeah, you could put Imrahil to lead them, you could have Forlong, any of those fiefdoms, but it sounds like you've not got the Kingdoms of Men sourcebook, so I suggest you go and get that, pal. Okay.
If I may, the only problem with the Dead is they're fantastic against evil troops, but one of the main problems that they have is they're not, you know, their fight isn't very good, and
that's the fight value which gets them down, isn't it?
I've played against them quite a lot. I've learnt a lot because of playing them. But
yeah, you meant Jerry plays them, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's very, very good with them as well. Anyway, sorry, I progress.
Good stuff. Okay, so next up we've got Dave Egan. So if you see that I'm speeding up here, it's because it's been an hour and a half. I don't think we've been particularly slow, but I do need to go and get my hair cut, otherwise Janie's going to kill me because she kept this slot open for me. He's put, Jamie, if you're there, you can read this, because it's going to be a long post. No, he's not here, but I'm going to read it, just so we can go through quick. If not, James, just give the word and I'll repost this again next week for him. Yes, repost it again for him next week. He's put, oh, these are stat lines. So I'll start with a question. Would the Galadriel Protectress of Lothlorien model be an acceptable proxy for Galadriel Lady of Light in a tournament? I think so. It's the same as taking various Legolases and various Aragorns. I don't think there's any particular problem as long as you make it clear to your opponent which profile you're using. You've got some stats. Now, something for a laugh. Here's the GBHL hosts new Battle of 5 army style profiles. GBHL Tom, fight 5, 4+ shoot value, strength 4, defense 7, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 5, 3 might, 4 will, 4 fate, war gear, the 1 ring, wow, a great bow, heavy dwarven armour, a great eagle, and a hammer. Special rules, can't be trapped, regains a might point each time he kills an enemy hero, and parry, Rumil. Wow, that's a good profile. GBHL Damien, fight 5, so same fight value as Tom, 4+, shoot value, strength 4, defense 6, so 1 less than Tom, 2 attacks, same as Tom, 3 wounds, 1 more than Tom, courage 6, so 1 more than Tom, 3 might, same as Tom, will 6, so 2 more will than Tom, and 3 fate, so 1 less than Tom. War gear, he has a staff of power, so 1 free will point per turn. Rasku's crossbow, heavy armour, a mace, the ring, Vilya, and a warg, so he gets to re-roll his fate points, which is good. Magic spells, every single one in the game needing a 4+ to cast. That's well overpowered. Special rules, Lord of the Astari, Saruman, and expert shot Rasku. So again, very, very good profile. I like how you mixed up he's mixed up some of Damien's favourite stuff. Next up, GBHL Jamie, fight 6 and a 3+ shoot value, so better than Tom and Damien in that. Strength 5, so he's stronger than them, but only defense 5. He's got 3 attacks though, which is more than those 2. 3 wounds, courage 5, so same as Tom. 6 might, like Boromir. 2 will, 2 fate. He's got an elven blade, armour, elf bow, spear, blowpipe, elven cloak, and a pony. Special rules, he's birdly, and he has deadly shot from Legolas, which is pretty good. GBHL James, fight value 7. I'll have that. A 2+ shoot value is clearly referring to my army days there, 2+ shoot value. Strength 5, so good strength. Defense 8, I've got 4 attacks, 3 wounds. Courage 7, so high courage. 3 might, 3 will, 3 fate, so 3's in the right places, you'd say. I've got heavy armour, shield, axe, bow, pure blood steed, special rule, mighty hero, I like that, yeah, Aragorn, weapon master, expert rider. James suffers no move and shoot penalty, and he can also move full and still shoot. Very good. Then you've also put, nextly, what do you think of this 800 point list? Now, because we've not got long, I want you to repost that for Jamie next week, that bit. You put, James, this last part is for you. What do you think of this 350 points Rohan list I'm bringing to the tournament in Derry in April? Ael the Young, leader. Aemma Marshall the Riddermark with horse, shield and throwing spear. Theodred with horse, shield and throwing spear. And Erkenbrand on horse. Yeah, all hero Rohan's quite fun. I've played several games with it and so far it hasn't lost. Daniel Entwistle plays a all-hero Rohan and it's very good. I thought about doing your idea of Aemma, Knight of Pelennor and 10 Sons of Ale, but I don't think I can afford to buy that many Sons of Ale at the moment. At a later stage, I think I will. Yeah, that looks like it'd be good fun. I might recommend, if you're doing all-hero Rohan, that it's worth trying to say gambling with Banner, if you can, because then you're getting your reroll with the Banner, but you're also being able to regenerate might when you lose all of your might. So you can be a little bit more liberal with the might for your heroic move-offs and heroic combats and stuff.
Very important.
Very important for cavalry. But now here's an all-mounted Rohan list I'd like to build in the future. Aemma, Knight of Pelennor, armoured horse, 4 Sons of Ale, 3 Rohan Royal Guards on a horse and 3 Outriders on a horse. Erkenbrand on a horse, 3 Sons of Ale, 2 Rohan Royal Guards on a horse, 2 Outriders on a horse and 3 Westfold Red Shields. And then Ael the Young, 3 Sons of Ale, 7 Westfold Red Shields. What do you think? Good, balanced list. Maybe mix it up so you've got equal kind of roles in each warband, so you're not too reliant on one warband doing one thing on the games where you get split up. Each warband is kind of like self-sufficient. I think that would be the only thing I'd change. But apart from that, very good. Hope you enjoyed my long post, Jamie. I certainly did. Happy hobbying, lads. And then you put, also James, you see my most recent message to you on Facebook about payment info. I need to pay for the Stockport tickets. Yeah, yes you do. If you can't do a bank transfer, which doesn't make any sense if you can't do your BACS transfer, you should be able to do that. Either going to your bank or through internet banking. But if you still can't do that, then you can pay on the day, but you do have to pay a little bit more money if you're paying on the day. So make sure you get to that.
Mind if I just throw something in here? I love the fact that you get these guys all bows. Have you seen them on their bat reps rolling ones?
2+ shoot value. Fight 7.
Rolling ones.
Strength 5.
Rolling ones.
Okay, next up we've got Al Wood. He's put, thanks Steve for stepping in to help out James on this one. Well, we're thanking Dave this time.
Thank you.
And big apologies that we're rushing through this now because we have been doing this for an hour and a half.
Is that all? I thought we were going for a 3-hour session here. Be a man, stand up, be there for the community.
I think I'm in more trouble now than I would be if I told Jane that I was getting smelled because I'm half hour late for my hair appointment.
It's alright, I've got scissors.
Never happening. So you put, thanks very much for answering the question about Sorcerer's Blast. Shooting the Video Games Workshop store was a great idea. Yeah, it was good fun, but you've put here, but I did struggle to hear some of the banter, but you've noted that already. Yeah, it's very hard to edit. And also when you edit these things, you've got to listen to them on headphones and listen to them out loud. And, you know, I did do both, and it was the best that I could do without it going either tinny or you literally not being able to hear us at all. So I hope it didn't ruin it too much. You put, my question this week is a cavalry one. So that must be for me. A cavalry model has a spear, so it can support another cavalry model. Also, the spear model is a high fighting out value but lower defence. A non-spear armed cavalry figure can charge into combat, and the spear armed one can also move directly into combat or just support his mate. Would you, A, just support the other cavalry model in combat, giving +1 dice to the combat, or B, put the spear model in direct combat in order to get the 2 attacks, 1 base attack and +1 for the cavalry that's charging the model. Okay, so the only situations where you're going to see this is with mounted Citadel Guard or mounted Rangers of the North. So you've put up a scenario which is not that common. So your point is, do you charge in with both of them getting a +1? I have to say, the more dice to win the fight, the better. So indeed. I would personally put 2 cavalry models base to base. Other people might disagree, but I think you're making yourself, you're not getting the best use out of cavalry if you're using them as spear support. You know, much better to try and win the fight, because if you win the fight, you know, it doesn't matter really. You know, as long as you're winning the fight. If you don't wound them, that's a shame. But I'd much rather have more dice to win the fight than one less dice to win the fight, but not have the risk. So I think you've got to be able to be aggressive when it comes to charging with cavalry.
Especially if you're up against a higher fight value, and you've got to equate the amount of dice your opponent's going to be rolling versus your potential extra 2+ dice there.
Yeah, I would say it's always worth, if you can do, getting as many cavalry in base contacts as possible. You might not have, but then I would even argue that anything you can't get into base contact, and hopefully you charged when you didn't have priority, so you can't be counter-charged that turn. But then it's worth anything that you can't get into base contact. I wouldn't get them that close to the problem. I would make sure they were out of range of the enemy, so you can get the counter charge if you lose priority or the heroic move off the next turn. Okay. You put in the first example, the cavalry loses the combat, then the opponent has to attack the higher defence front figure. In the second example, the opponent can choose to attack the lower defence spear arm figure. Sorry for the long-winded question, cheers, ow. I think it's better to have more dice in the fight, personally.
Yeah. And also, you'll get some opponents that'll think, I'll take the horse out, get rid of the horse, you get rid of that extra +1, so it doesn't matter what the Swans is.
So next up, William Farquhar, he's put, hello James and or Jamie and or Steve and or Dave Nolan. He's doing a good job. He's put, since getting back into the hobby, I have run into a bit of a problem. I still have all my paints from back when I started, and some of them really have stood the test of time, but many have dried into a solid block of colour. Is there any way to rejuvenate my old paints? Adding water works to some extent, but not in the worst of cases. Some of them must be almost 10 years old now. Thanks a lot, I'm looking forward to another Speak Friend and question. I'm sure you can answer this.
I will indeed. Well, I have paints that are 25 years old. When they're done, I basically take them out of the pot, crush them down and add a bit of medium or add a bit of water, small bit at a time. What you really want to do is just break it right down, put it back in the pot, scrape it back in, swirl it around, and you should get another few goes out of it.
Great answer.
That's all I can say.
Great answer, I would have said exactly the same.
Don't throw water straight into the pot and try and grind in, get it out, crush it down. Let's crack on with the next question.
Very good answer, there you go. I knew you were here for a reason.
Just a pretty face.
Okay, so next up we've got Scott Johnson. He's got, hi guys, been out of the loop for a while but have been watching religiously every week. Good stuff. We'll make sure you ask a question next week. Question for this week is there anything to dictate the size of an objective marker? Should they, for example, all be on a 25mm base? No. Unless it specifically states.
A tournament organiser would state exactly what size it needs to be. Friendship game, take out a coin, anything that suits you guys.
I know what you mean, because it does affect things. So I have been in situations where you know, do you go for that kind of coin size, or do you go for, you know, some people have got objective markers that are cavalry size, which of course then your objective marker's got more of a range. So it does affect things. I think as long as you both agree, unless it's stated specifically by a tournament organiser, it's not too much of a problem. I can't see. I can't remember the situation.
Personally, I'd go for the smallest base that's available.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Okay, so next up, Sam Gibbs. He's put, hi guys, what mounted models don't have foot versions, and what are the best models to use without doing conversions? Cheers as always. Keep up the good work. there's
what
one.
Mounted? I have no idea.
Sons of Ale.
He's been harping on about this for ages.
Sons of Ale. This is why I have to scour the internet religiously for Rohan Captain models, which I use on foot, and yeah, I've had to try and get hold of some extra Sons of Ale shields to sort of glue to them, which I will be doing. So yeah, I tend to try and use them as an alternative, but some people might not mind you doing conversions using some like Anglo-Saxon or Viking based like Whipping Beast miniatures and stuff like that.
I'll throw something in here. How about the model with Legolas and Gimli on? Because when you take that off, they're two separate models.
They are, but because it's a scenario model, you can't have in the rules Legolas and Gimli mounted together unless of course it's written into a scenario. Yeah. So as a result, if they, in the scenario I'm guessing if they come off the horse, then there's two separate profiles and models. Whilst on, he's using the passenger rules, and passenger rules are only relevant for non sort of points games. It's for particular scenarios.
Morgul Knights.
Morgul Knights, yes, that's a good call. And Morgul Knights, people tend to use Black Numenorians on foot, or Castellans.
And Marauders.
Warg Marauders.
Yeah.
Warg Marauders can't be dismounted.
Exactly, so they don't have a rocket foot model. Sorry.
Is there anything else? You could say Rivendell Knights, but you just use the High Elves. The High Elves with well, you can. What is it that they drop? I can't remember what it is that they drop. Oh, I think they don't drop their shield, but they lose the defense bonus or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, because they keep their bow, keep the shield.
They keep their bow. They keep
this bonus.
That's it. They lose the defense bonus because Expert Rider stops being into play. So yeah, you just use normal sort of Rivendell high elves for that.
But if anybody else has any there, just put it down as a comment below, please.
Certainly do. So next up we've got Dom Hill. I think we're getting close to the end now. I know you guys have strong feelings about Easterlings, even though I know you definitely didn't forget the most important troops in the game. But I need to know. I needed a break from elves, so I've got some to paint for a battle company. I was just wondering if you could give me some tips for building this up over time. Also, have you ever seen Kamal on Fellbeast? Yes, plenty of times. Very good, very effective. Do people use the generic Nazgul, or have you seen conversions for him? Mostly conversions.
I'm converting Kamal onto a Metal Fellbeast at the moment for my 9.
Lots of people convert Kamal.
Yeah.
I think it's a relatively straightforward conversion, especially for a guy of your skill, Dom. Dom's got a painting challenge, very good.
Oh wow!
So you'll be absolutely fine. Kamal, getting the likes of, I can't even think of your Easterling heroes' names. What are they called? You know them. War priests.
Yeah, oh yes, with their fury.
Get a war priest. Get Amder. There's not loads and loads of selection in there, but give those a go. Okay. Next up we've got Dr. Dan. Evening, gents. Well, it is when I'm writing this. Well, we are in the middle of the day. It feels like evening to me. I've been up since 5:20.
I just woke up.
Pretty shattered. I was wondering if, for a battle report, you might consider doing some from the old source books, specifically from the War of the Ring section, not the system. Don't worry, James.
I'm gathering you don't particularly like the system.
I've never played it. I've got no reason not to like it. It's just that we've not got any plans to do it. Well, not regularly anyway. Maybe for a Let's Try Tuesday. I think Tom and Damien are going to take care of that one. In the old books, they wrote scenarios for the attacks elsewhere in Middle. Oh, they wrote the scenarios for the attacks elsewhere in Middle Earth, whilst the attack on Middle Earth takes place. I think that it's in the old Return of the King rulebook and uses combined Dwarf and Dale. They use Warriors of Rohan defending Dale and the Lonely Mounting. I think it'd be interesting to see how they play now with the actual forces of Dale late time released. What do you think? As always, you're doing a great job. Cheers, Dan. Yep. Doing all sort of old scenarios and things is definitely content that you can look forward to seeing in the far future. It's on the pipeline. Okay, next up we've got Zarfe Engel. He's put, wow, I'm late to the party this week. Hope I still made it in time. Yes, you certainly did. I don't really have a question this week. Just wanted to stay in the loop and thank you for all the great work you do.
Hey up, cheers for the question.
Thank you very much. Next up we've got Quinn Duggan. He's put, alright, I'm back for an army question. 600 point Mordor. What do I take? Shagrat War Leader. What do I take? Shagrat War Leader, 10 Morammons, 5 shield, 5 spear, and shield. Shaman with the same, Taskmaster with the same, and 1 banner. That's 500 points. So options are Mordor Troll, replace Shagrat with Knight of Umbar and 2 Morgul Knights, or 5 Morgul Knights, or a Shade.
I'd definitely go for Knight of Umbar. I've used Morgul Knights. I've only used 2 ever. I wouldn't go for more than 2. They just don't have the oomph. Again, similar to a few problems with Mordor. But definitely Knight of Umbar would be a good one.
Knight of Umbar would be good, but are you talking about on foot?
Again, I'm thinking Fellbeast.
You'd have to take him.
Yeah,
I think Fellbeast. Or you could take him on an armoured horse. Would be good if you can get that in. A Shade would work very well with that army because of your low fight value. So if you've got a Shade, that's your 100 points taken care of, and it makes some nasty synergy.
I'm not really a lover of cavalry too much. He's a cavalry lover.
Yeah, Morgul Knights are good, but in your army, really, they're in there they're just token really in there. They're not going to do too much, are they? Apart from maybe grab some objectives and stuff. Okay, so next up we've got Scott Johnson. He's put a second question for this week. Can you shoot through an area of woodland such as Citadel Wood, assuming you have line of sight, or is it deemed to be too dense to see through? Thanks.
I believe you can. If true line of sight means that if the tree isn't blocking your line of sight, you can shoot straight through it.
True line of sight is true line of sight, and if you can see a decent part of that model, and by that, you know, you can't shoot a plume of hair. Well, you know, out of the top of the helmet, or a sword
or a wing or something, or a tail. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to be able to sort of see a main part of the model, and it is true line of sight. And as long as you can see them, if parts of it are obscured, they will be in the ways, and the in the way chart is in the Hobbit rulebook.
The Citadel terrain piece is to indicate difficult ground. The trees, wherever you place, to indicate where the line of sight may well be broken.
Yeah. So next up we've got Chris Lee. So, hi guys, thanks for answering my question. My question for this week is, I'm wanting to build an Angmar force. I'm not wanting to ally. I'm wanting to be strictly Angmar. The obvious troops and heroes are Barrow Wights, Captains, Shamans, Orcs, and a few Spectres. But any other suggestions that you've tried out before and are pleased about? Thanks. Yeah, if you want Angmar, you need a Shade, You need Barrow Whites. Swimmer Lake is a good call. And then just loads and loads of Orcs and the odd Spectre.
Yeah.
And that's it, if you want to go pure Angmar.
Not a force I'm familiar with, but I'd love to give it a try one day.
Yeah, Jamie's got no Might Angmar, and I believe that Generation Shift is currently playing that Might Angmar force.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah. And finally, so it has been one hefty video this. I was hoping to get this done in an hour, but it's been 44 minutes longer. So Jane, I'm sure, is furious. But hi James and Jamie, or another mystery guest host.
Come on, it's me! We played in East Finchley.
He's a great guy.
He's fantastic.
East Finchley?
Yeah, is it? Yeah, East Finchley.
Finchley.
East Finchley? West Finchley? It's Finchley.
You're thinking of East Grinstead, aren't you? East Grinstead and Finchley.
It's all
mixed
south.
into one.
It's all south.
You played him in South.
I played him in the south with his goblin army.
He's a good guy. I don't think I played Camille. I'd like to play him. After a fantastic day on Sunday, I've got a question: how to use the Palantir at the beginning of the game to try and burn some might from your opponent, or keep it to the end of the game to win priority. James, Sunday's coming. Will kick your backside, all the best, you'll never walk alone. He's obviously referring to Manchester United versus Liverpool Northwest Derby, of which Manchester United are going to win.
This is the SBG GBHL channel, not the local football news. Anyway, moving on quickly, Mr. Camille.
Hey, most of the time they ask me fitness questions and advice, and like.
Well, now I'm here. They're asking proper SBG questions. Let's keep it in the loop, guys. Right.
Well, the Palantir, I think you save it for that very, very key moment where you need where you need it, basically. So I wouldn't use it at the beginning of the game to try and burn might. I'd use it after lines have clashed and when it looks like you would be most vulnerable to losing priority. And we all know what that moment is. That moment where you're looking at it and go, I really need to win priority. You don't get it, you use your Palantir.
Again, it's a scenario-driven question. 9 times out of 10, people are very cautious about using might at the start of the game. Palantir won't pull that might out, in my opinion, unless it is a scenario-driven specific question. I'd keep it to the end. Again, this reminds me of something. I know it's the last question. I know you want to race off. This reminds me of the Alfred question. When do you use Alfred? At the very start, or as I've heard and seen some people use, closer to the end when you're mighty stuff. Well, it's very interesting. Thank you, Camille.
Well, with Alfred, it depends on the kind of who you're trying to put the might onto. So if you're sitting back with the likes of a Legolas and stuff, then you would say that you don't want to use Alfred early, because there is the chance, of course, that Alfred will take away his might. So you want to wait until Legolas is dead. You use Legolas's might with impunity to get the targets you want to get the wound on the general, or take out a shaman, or whatever else, banner, whatever it is that you're trying to target. And then there's no risk at 0 might of him losing might from there. So you do it from there, you've got nothing to lose. Yeah. But a lot of the time, you're not going to be doing it with heroes like that. You're going to be doing it with heroes that need to get stuck in. At which point you want to do it as soon as possible before you lose that opportunity. You know, you don't want to be too cautious.
Again, there's no right or wrong answer. No. But I would suggest perhaps specific scenario aspects look at later on in the game when you can really.
Yeah, saying that, you know, like there are games like Seize the Prize where it can be really important to get first turn top priority, and if you don't get it, then the Palantir can be a good way of doing that. But I would say more often than not that would be used, you know, at that key moment when you really needed it, when after the lines have clashed, when a hero looks particularly vulnerable, or you're trying to get the jump on an enemy hero, or you know, you want to be able to pick your combats, because that's effectively the way you use it. I am absolutely dying for a wee.
I'm quite happy to take over while he runs off.
No, we're done.
No, we're not done. I'm still here.
We're done. You're done. Get out. Get out of my house.
4 times.
4 times.
4 times.
I think we'd like to give Dave a massive thank you for giving up his time today, and we've not even got a chance to get a game, so you really have done this.
Thank you for having me.
Completely selflessly coming down here and supporting this Hobbit hobby and supporting the channel, so thank you so much. So as always guys, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. If you want your questions answering for next week, make sure you put your questions in the comment section below, and make sure you do that before Thursday, because that tends to be when we film Speak Put in Question for, of course, the following Sunday. As always, support your Hobbit hobby,
and happy strategy battle gaming. I got it right this time.